It is Friday, September 26, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. I do want to encourage you to take the time to subscribe and be part of this amazing weather community, especially as now some of us are preparing for some impacts from a potential system. And you see a lot going on. We have new areas that are going into action mode. I want to cover that in this video. I want to show you the most likely path of what we're seeing, and I want to go model by model to show you that. But a very tricky forecast. Umberto sitting right there. As this lifts to the north, Umberto could still try to pull this away. Know that I'm keeping an eye on everything that's going on in the tropical Atlantic. Now, the first concern is the ongoing flooding. Watching that in Haiti, near the Turks and Caicos, southern Bahamas, and the Dominican Republic. We are going to zoom down into that. Now, the most likely path, it is an extension of what I showed you yesterday. Do my best just to give you the most accurate information, and this is still what I'm seeing. Now, this, though, is a lower confidence forecast than what I typically have, just based on the fact that we have two systems that are out there. Now, the next name on the list is Imelda. This area right now, sitting near the Turks and Caicos, will lift into the central sections of the Bahamas by tomorrow and start to develop. Tomorrow could become a tropical depression, a classified system. Then it's going to lift near the northern Bahamas, either right on top of the northern Bahamas or just off toward the east on Sunday. But either way, at that point, it should be developing into a tropical storm. Either way, across the Bahamas, for most of the islands, very heavy rain. It will be a fine line with some of our extreme western islands that are a little bit closer to Florida. I'll cover that. Then as we work our way up toward the Carolinas, this is when it could intensify into a hurricane and then eventually move in later on Monday. And by the Carolinas, I do mean North and South Carolina specifically. And then this could move in and then eventually bring some really heavy rain as the system starts to weaken on Tuesday to interior sections of both South Carolina and North Carolina. Now, with Umberto, if it gets a little bit closer, there are some models and indications that we could have a system approach South Carolina, for example, and then get pulled away. That is still a possibility. And that gives you an idea of how uncertain this forecast is. I want to show you that. And also in this video, I want to show you the winds inside of this. We're going to cover that, so hang with me. Thank you for your patience. Now, what we're watching out here, this is the area not well organized as expected at this point, but you see these deeper colors telling me we have taller cloud tops. In those taller cloud tops, we have a lot of rain. We are watching anywhere from Boston Blue, Jacmel, Port-au-Prince, dangerous river crossings. I cannot stress that enough in Haiti. Please, please use some caution. Mudslides, rock slides, same thing in Santo Domingo. And this will enhance the chance of rain in eastern Cuba and Jamaica for us today. We're going to see a better chance of rain and storms. Still some scattered areas of rain for us in Puerto Rico as the day goes on. Now, this is where we need to go in action mode. And I do appreciate you sharing this channel, subscribing just to spread the word. As specifically trying to kind of zoom down, I value your means, your time, in your resources. So I try to really keep this as tight as I can be. But northern and central Bahamas, that's where we need to be in action mode for the potential of a system developing on top of us, which most likely would be a tropical storm. So Grand Bahama Island, back toward the Abacos, and then south as you get over toward Andros, and then swinging off toward the east. We're talking about Cat Island, Long Island, and then right over toward Rum Cay, points to the north of Rum Cay. That's where we need to be taking those precautions. Now, same thing as we work our way back toward coastal sections of South Carolina, the entirety of the coast of South Carolina, right up toward Hatteras. We're making hurricane preparations. With that said, again, I would hold off on certain items in both areas, such as putting the shutters up and boarding up yet, because there's high uncertainty and we have a little time that I don't want you necessarily putting nails in your home if you don't have to. But we're starting to make some of those hurricane preparations because this system is closed. That time frame has closed, right? We're at Friday, and there could be a landfalling system just in a few days up into South Carolina. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I do this channel for safety. So your life and livelihood most important. So just because that window has closed, we do need to take some action. It's just the prudent thing to do, and hopefully the system moves away, but at least we will be prepared. Now we're watching the heavier rain. This is the first concern. Look at these totals. Look at these pockets in here, some of the reds and black shadings. That's about 6 to 8 inches of rain, or 150 millimeters of rain, to about 20 centimeters of rain. That's why I wanted to caution right off the bat what's going on now. You never want to lose sight of that. We do not have a named system right now, and it is causing life-threatening flooding in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Enhanced rain, of course, Turks and Caicos, parts of Cuba, and Jamaica today. Now this area will lift out of Haiti and swing to the north right through the Bahamas. Even if it's slow to develop, we're going to have a ton of heavy rain and some gusty winds across the Bahamas. But northern Bahamas, we are in action mode in parts of the central Bahamas as this area continues to lift to the north and eventually tries to move into South Carolina, maybe North Carolina. Now some of these models all over the place, so we are watching everything carefully. Along the coast of Florida, we are monitoring very carefully, but a couple of the models take this right up toward South Carolina and then off toward the east. That would be good news. Not wishing this on Bermuda or anything like that. That is a plausible scenario because this is such a complex area or system because we really have two systems out there. Now, all of the models, most of the models try to bring this up towards South Carolina, right? But a couple of those, including this dotted one, this is the Google DeepMind model, so we're using some AI with this, kind of shoot this out. That is a possibility because of Umberto, so that makes sense, and that's why this is a low confidence forecast. Chances are almost equal for this moving toward, say, South Carolina as it is that it would kind of get pulled off toward the east. But because that time frame has closed, we need to make some of those preparations. That makes sense to do that to protect life and property at this point. Now, as we go out in time here, the strength, this is a day out, this is 2 days out. Short term, not a lot of strength in it because, again, the heavy rain just sitting over Haiti, it's interacting with land. Conditions aren't super conducive for development in the very short term. But once we get past 2 days, as we work our way through the weekend, I mentioned Sunday in particular, over the northern Bahamas, Freeport, New Providence, there should be some strengthening into a tropical storm. Some of them have this eventually becoming a hurricane as this moves closer to the Carolinas. Some of the models have this becoming, just staying a tropical storm. And I want to explain that in just a second, the variations in the intensity. Meanwhile, we have this out here. This is Umberto, a powerful system. This is going to continue to rapidly intensify. We're going to be watching that as, excuse me, as we go forward into a major hurricane, and then hopefully just off toward the west there of Bermuda. You can see the modeling on this. Know that in Bermuda, I'm watching this very carefully, as well as the Atlantic region of Canada, which I'll show you as well in this video. But Umberto is just going to continue to intensify very, very quickly into a major hurricane. So watching that. But that being there does play into some of the problems with the forecasting out of this. Now, the warm water, I mentioned that a couple days ago. Warm, deep water, that is a concern for the intensification of this. This area is going to move over water temperatures that are around 30 degrees Celsius, 86 to about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, right through the Bahamas. Now, with that, that is conducive for development, but above our heads, there's some wind shear and dry air. So hopefully that limits some of the intensification as this gets a little bit closer to the southeast coast of the U.S. So let's go model by model now. Here's a look at the European model. Here we are in the Gulf, the Caribbean. Here's Umberto. That'll stay just to the north and northeast of us in the Caribbean. Here's this front here, which is key, that will help to kind of draw this area up to the north. So this here is by tomorrow, and you see the sloppy mess of rain. Parts of Cuba, still Jamaica, still Haiti, Turks and Caicos, in through the central and southern sections of the Bahamas tomorrow. A lot of heavy rain, right? Not a hurricane or anything like that at this point, but a lot of heavier rain. But as this lifts on Sunday right up into the northern Bahamas, that's when it could become a tropical storm. And that's why I mentioned earlier we're in action mode, especially the northern Bahamas, for the potential of tropical storm impacts as we work our way into our Sunday forecast. Now here's Umberto. If this gets a little bit closer, two systems close by do some weird stuff together, and with that it could eventually try to pull it away. But if it stays enough away, this area will work its way right up into the Carolinas, South and North Carolina. This is Monday. We get some of the outer rain bands working in. early on Monday, and then the conditions would go downhill after that. Then Monday into Tuesday, this lifts to the north, but there should be some dry air squeaking in here. That would be huge to try to limit the intensification of that. You could see all the variables that I'm dealing with behind the scenes. There's so much. We have this here, we have dry air, wind shear. Wind shear is a good thing that knocks off the thunderstorm tops. Those are winds above our heads that come in the opposite direction. But either way, if Humberto stays just enough away, this would mean a landfalling tropical storm or hurricane into parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, and then on Tuesday, the potential of inland flooding. Virginia swinging up through Delmarva across the mid-Atlantic, monitoring that as well. But as far as the outcome goes, we need to kind of see how this intensifies the next couple days to see the long-term impacts. But know that other points I'm watching, West Virginia, Virginia, down the road, keeping an eye on this. Now, here's a look at some of the uncertainty. High pressure, the blocker, is well off toward the east, so we're watching these fronts. So these areas have an opportunity to curve because high pressure acts like a fence, a barrier that is off toward the east. Now, as we go forward in time, let me stop it here. This is Monday, and this gives us a feel of some of the uncertainty. This is the European model and variations of the European model. You see anywhere from North Carolina all the way down, keeping an eye still on Florida, the potential of a system that could make landfall, but a high concentration of some of these models right along South Carolina and parts of North Carolina. That's where this area is most likely to go. And then keeping an eye on Bermuda, because here is Humberto, high confidence of it starting to make that turn. But this is just the European model, right? A couple of the other significant models do take this up toward kind of the same area, at least initially, and then start to curve it away because of Humberto. And I'll let you know what I know, what I don't know. I'm not quite sure yet with the kind of overall outcome out of this. Now, here's the American model, very close to the European model, right? So the American and the European model, for what it's worth at this point, are in generally good agreement. You can see as we go out in time here, this is our Saturday, so this is tomorrow. Heavier rain, central and southern sections of the Bahamas. Here comes that front right here, watching Humberto there. Now, it will be a fine line for some of us. We still need to make the preparations, no doubt, northern sections and parts of the central sections of the Bahamas. But if this could just stay a little bit to the east, we'd be in better shape for some of us in our western islands. We'll be watching that. Now, the American model starts to drive kind of a sloppy system to the north. What it's feeling is that we're going to get that dry air and wind shear way above our heads, the winds knocking off some of the thunderstorm tops. That would be amazing. That would be a very good thing to help limit the intensification of this. So if that happens, this would be a tropical storm or a low-end hurricane and not necessarily a major hurricane or anything like that, but still a strong system that would roll in. This here is Monday afternoon, right into parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. If you're watching the Carolinas, if this shakes out, I'll be able to kind of fine tune where this will move on shore in upcoming videos. So again, thank you for taking the time to subscribe so you could get those updates. And then eventually, I am concerned about the inland flooding as a whole. If this does make landfall, once we get into Tuesday, significant inland flooding would be a potential. And then watching this, of course, here is Humberto monitoring just how close it eventually gets to Bermuda. We'll be watching that. I'm going to expand out and show you that and the Atlantic region of Canada and watching New England in just a second. Now, here are the winds, miles per hour and kilometers an hour on the screen to keep everyone covered. You see the white shading here tomorrow. So this is our Saturday. That white shading, those would be some of the gusts to about 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour across parts of the Bahamas, gusty winds. Then as we work our way into Sunday, a little bit of red starts to squeak in, right? So this is the system developing. The red would be gust up to about 70 miles per hour or 110 kilometers an hour as this gets organized. Meanwhile, that sucker out there, a powerful major hurricane getting closer to Bermuda. Then this would be Monday. You can see along the coast of the Carolinas, we're watching some very strong winds moving in. Georgia and Florida, monitoring for any changes, got you covered as well, right across Georgia. And then watching this area that will be getting closer to the coast, we'd be getting gusts about 50 miles per hour. And then this red shading in there is saying, hey, this will be a strong tropical storm or low-end Category 1 hurricane according to the American model. So it'd have winds 70 to about 75 miles per hour as this rolls on shore in parts of North Carolina and South Carolina, and then of course diminishing as it moves inland. Meanwhile, watching this, here's Bermuda, very powerful system. That could have eventually winds of 130 miles per hour, maybe more in Umberto. So we really need this thing to do an up and around Bermuda. So that's what we'll be watching as we get into the middle of the upcoming week. It is so very busy. And again, hurricane season goes all the way through the end of November. Now, here's the longer term outlook, but this really hinges on if this area makes landfall or not, no doubt. Watching these fronts, we've had some welcome rain parts of the Atlantic region of Canada. But you could see this area, this here, which should become Imelda this weekend. This here is Umberto, watching that. So you can see as we go out in time, watching some of the extra rain out ahead of it with these fronts. But around this area, we may get some dry air moving in, which would be really key. But either way, this area is going to be lifting up to the north. So as we work our way into Sunday, you can see this area developing into a tropical storm. And this here, a powerful hurricane right back behind it. We'll monitor the interaction between the two. They do influence each other's tracks. Then as we go from Sunday into next week, watching this, the potential of a landfall in the Carolinas. But again, it would not surprise me if Umberto helped just to kind of kick this away. We're going to wait and see together on that. But a tropical storm or a hurricane making landfall, the potential of that Monday night into the Carolinas. Here's Tuesday, watching the potential for the inland flooding all the way up through parts of the mid-Atlantic. And then keeping an eye on what's going on with Umberto. Early indications are that it would be just to the south and east here, parts of the Atlantic region of Canada. So long it makes so long it stays on track. But know that anywhere from the Maritimes as a whole up to the north through the Avalon Peninsula, I'm watching the long-term projections on that as we get into next week, about 5, 6, 7 days from now. Now here's the really heavy rain as we watch this area develop. Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, parts of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos today, not losing sight elsewhere. Costa Rica, Panama, some heavy pockets of rain. Scattered areas of storms, but by tomorrow, this area lifting right through the Bahamas, trying to develop again. Northern Bahamas, we're making some of those preps because this could be a tropical storm as it works through. But on the south side, still driving in the moisture, parts of Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic as well. Tomorrow, we could have some big time downpours. And then both of these areas are up to the north, still some scattered areas of rain as we work our way into Sunday, and still heavier Costa Rica and Panama as we get into Sunday. So we have Umberto out there. That is one system. The next name on the list is Imelda. So the area sitting over Haiti right now, as it lifts through the Bahamas, it should eventually become Imelda as we work our way into the weekend. Hopefully the dry air and that wind shear help limit the intensification, but we know how warm those water temperatures are. So again, not only is the track uncertain in this one, but of course the intensification is almost always uncertain. But that's why we're doing the right thing and making some of those preparations. Now, watching these swells really building, everything builds throughout the weekend. This is Sunday. Meters here, feet on the right-hand side of your screen to give you an idea of the swell. So as this works up toward the Carolinas, even if this doesn't move into Georgia or Florida, there'll be high and dangerous seas, of course. And there again across, here's Bermuda right here, these huge swells, giant waves, no doubt, with Umberto, which looks to become a major hurricane. Now, as we look at some of the rain, I mentioned that fine line in the Bahamas. If some of this misses our islands in the Bahamas, we're simply grateful that we would be, but we need to make those preps. But as far as the rain is concerned, again, as we work our way, if you're a little bit more toward the east, that chance of higher totals of about 20 centimeters of rain or 8 inches of rain will be a possibility. And I mentioned this earlier, the ongoing rain, the dangerous rivers, the mudslide potential. Haiti, I can't stress that enough, as well as the Dominican Republic. High rain totals, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, and Jamaica. We could get popped by some storms the next few days that could give us 75 millimeters of rain or 3 inches of rain. Monitoring the flooding, I'll be watching your comments. Most of this is now pulling away from Puerto Rico. We could still get a few bands of rain moving in. We'll watch out for that. Spotty showers and storms in Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Martin, St. Bart's. We could see a few more showers squeaking into parts of Trinidad, more to the north, not quite as much, but a few passing showers. You could see some of that rain, not as much Suriname, but Guyana, northern sections of Venezuela. And there's some of the higher totals, Costa Rica and Panama, some totals of about 4 or 5 inches of rain or over 100 millimeters of rain. Coastal Guatemala, watching El Salvador, interior sections of Honduras for some heavier rain. In Mexico as a whole, anywhere from the Yucatan Peninsula right around Mexico proper, seeing a lot of heavy rain. Texas, we're mainly on the dry side. West Texas, better chance of rain. And then, of course, just monitoring this, what happens with what could become Imelda as it moves in. So Jamaica, you see how the rain chance is higher today. It's enhanced by what's going on in Haiti. We have a 70% chance of rain and storms. Some could be strong. We're watching out for some flooding. 30 to 40% chance as we work our way through the Cayman Islands. 30% chance today, Trinidad and Tobago, but it does build this weekend. That's why I mentioned some of that rain trying to squeak in, especially Trinidad and southern sections of Trinidad. Barbados, rain chance 30 to 40%. St. Lucia, the next 3 days, a 30 to 40% chance. Isolated passing shower the next couple of days in Grenada. It does build a little bit. St. Vincent the Grenadines by Sunday will be up to a 50% chance of some scattered showers. 30% chance the next couple of days in Martinique. A 30% chance passing shower in Dominica today and tomorrow. A 40% chance in Guadeloupe. And as we swing to the north, rain chance 30 to 40%. Passing showers possible Antigua and Barbuda as we go through the weekend. St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat. 40% chance today and a 30% chance for tomorrow. Rain chance running at 40%. Anguilla and St. Bart's. 30 to 40%. St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. And watching out for scattered areas of rain still around at times. Some of it could be heavy. A lot of us stay dry, but some of it could be heavy in parts of Puerto Rico. Still a 40% chance across the British and U.S. Virgin Islands. Bahamas, all eyes on what's going on. Earlier in the video, I mentioned which islands, which areas are in action mode. Turks and Caicos monitoring the flooding. I'll be watching your comments as we go throughout the next couple of days. The Dominican Republic, dangerous flooding possible today. Dangerous and life-threatening flooding possible in parts of Haiti today. So thank you for getting the word out. 30% chance as we get back toward Belize, not a whole lot. And just a 20% chance Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, the rain chance overall staying on the low side. 40 to 50% chance as we work our way back through Guyana. Rain chance stays limited as we work our way through Suriname. Watching the eastern end of Cuba, that's where we have the higher chance of rain the next few days. And a 60 to 70% chance remains Costa Rica and Panama. 40 to 50% chance in Nicaragua. 30% chance the next couple of days in Honduras. Western sections, better chance of getting some of the rain. A 60% chance Guatemala and El Salvador. And scattered areas of rain, some of it heavy as we get back toward Mexico City and even across the Yucatan Peninsula. Watching out for scattered areas of rain and storms. 50% chance northern Colombia. 40 to 50% chance northern Venezuela. And in Bermuda, we're mainly dry. All eyes on Humberto. Hopefully it passes just to the west. We'll be tracking it together right through the weekend into next week. So Imelda trying to form. It looks like most of the models have this becoming a hurricane, either a strong tropical storm or a low-end hurricane, but the intensity, that is going to be tricky. Warm water temperatures, but wind shear and dry air above our heads. The intense rain flooding now, that's what's happening. Haiti, the Dominican Republic, watching the Turks and Caicos. Action mode for parts of the Bahamas. Action mode for parts of the southeast U.S. All of the South Carolina coastline. And then the North Carolina coastline swinging up toward about Cape Hatteras. We should be making some of those preparations at this point to be on the safe side. Hurricane season goes through the end of November. So thank you for your trust with the system. No doubt it is tricky. Know that behind the scenes, I'm watching stuff nonstop. Got you covered right here. Thank you for being part of this channel. Be safe and have a good day ahead.